Oh my God, my head was gonna fucking explode. Where am I? Thank God I made it home. Where's my bag? Fuck, I hope I have my wallet. Oh, why did I drink so much last night? Why do I keep drinking so much? Why do I keep doing this to myself? Something had to change. I couldn't go on like this. I had to get a hold of my life. So I started an intensive therapy program. When I first met Joel, I was immediately skeptical because for a survivor of sexual assault, men are my worst enemies. But I sat there in the same desk chair that I used every single day and opened up my computer and stared across my screen on Zoom to a man with a gentle face and kind eyes. And the first thing he said was, "Mukta, it's so nice to meet you, and I'm glad that you're here. I want to acknowledge before we begin that as a white cis man, there might be moments where maybe you don't feel comfortable sharing, or you want to keep things to yourself. And in those moments, don't hesitate to let me know or go directly to the crisis center, because this is your space. This is your time." And I don't know why, but looking into his kind eyes, I knew that I wanted to make this work. And so I said, "Thank you, Joel. I'm scared, but I'm proud of myself for being here. And I think that we could do this." And then I threw in, "Maybe you can be the first man I choose to trust." And when he giggled, I knew that this would work. And so it began. Mukta, how this is gonna work is we're gonna meet once a week for 24 weeks, and I'm gonna ask you about everything. Because I wanna know what makes you you, but I also wanna know what makes you not you. And so every week, I sat in the same desk chair and opened up my Zoom and looked at this man with kind eyes, and Joel would ask me about my day, and I would tell him about my whole life. I started by telling him about my mother, who gave me her strength and her courage and her humor and her cursing, and taught me this concept that if you tried hard enough, you could get through anything, but how that concept had been failing me lately. We talked about my work and how I always run into people like me, people that have experienced violence, and how in those moments I knew exactly what to say, exactly what to do, what resources to connect them to, but when it came to myself, I was at a complete loss. We talked about the alcohol that had made me the most fun person in the room, but had left me vulnerable for years. And we talked about my friends, the ones that had held me and maintained me and loved me when I couldn't maintain myself, filled their minds with me. And eventually, we talked about the assaults, both the ones that I relived every day and the ones that I'd chosen to forget or dismiss. And throughout it all, Joel would ask me these little peculiar questions. Mukta, can you pause for a second? Tell me, what can you hear right now? Is there anything around you that you can see and describe to me? How about anything that you can touch? And at first I was like, why can't this man let me cry in peace? But then he explained, Mukta, you know, in these moments when you're sharing these things with me and suddenly you feel like you're somewhere far up above, looking down at your body, that's your mind realizing that there's too much pain right now and it needs to go somewhere else. You're disassociating. But when I ask you what you can see and touch and feel and hear, it's because that forces you back into your chair, that forces you back into this room and in this work because you need to be here. And so week in and week out, I would tell him what I could see and hear and touch and feel. And we were about 3 months in when Joel said at the end of our session, Mukta, next week's the week. And I knew exactly what session he was talking about. This was the session that I had been nervous about since the very beginning. And suddenly the days were going by and I was realizing that I wasn't eating and I wasn't sleeping. And then it was the morning of, and fuck, I haven't eaten or slept in 7 days. And my heart was pumping so fast that I felt like my whole body was vibrating and my hands wouldn't stop sweating. And I was thinking about everything and thinking about nothing all at the same time. And I couldn't catch my breath and suddenly it was 5 p.m. and I sat down in my desk chair and I looked at this man with kind eyes and he said, "Are you ready?" Today was the day that Joel would ask me to recount my earliest assault in vivid detail. And the goal of this was to go back in time, to experience those moments again, to feel that pain again, because it would give me the best chance I had to process it and maybe release some of it. So Mukta, are you ready? I don't know how the fuck to answer that. why don't you grab something, put it in your lap, get comfortable, because this can be really hard. So without thinking, I grabbed the thing closest to me. It was this little orange pillow that I hate so much that my cats have scratched up, and I pulled it into my lap, and I crossed my legs, and I took a deep breath, and I looked at him, and I said, I'm ready. Mukta, close your eyes. With Joel's voice guiding me, I thought back nearly 1.5 decades, and I was seeing the world again through my very, very young eyes. Mukta, what do you remember the weather being like that day? Who were you with? What do you remember seeing? What do you remember touching or feeling? What happened first? What did you smell? What happened next? What did you think? What happened after that? And after that? What happened after that? When it was all over, I looked at Joel and he said, how do you feel right now? And I realized that I was feeling everything. I was feeling everything for the first time in a long time. I was feeling what it was like to fear for your life for the first time. I was feeling the confusion that a stranger could walk into your life and change you forever. I was feeling the shame at not having said anything, not having done anything. And I was feeling that that shame had followed me my entire fucking life and that it sat in my soul every single day. And I was realizing that that was the last day that I ever smiled at a man on the street. And I was realizing that the first time I was ever touched by a man was outside of my fucking consent. Mukta, what do you want to do with the pillow in your hands? And I looked down and I realized I was gripping that pillow so hard that my muscles were shaking and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I want to throw it. So throw it. And I took all my pain and my fear and my confusion and my shame and my anger and I put it into that pillow and I threw that pillow so fucking hard on the ground. And the second it hit the floor, I melted into my chair and I started to cry. When I finally caught my breath, Joel asked me one final question. Mukta, how do you feel? I looked down at that orange pillow that I hated so much, and I realized that I was here, and I was present, and I was trying for the first time in a long time. And I looked back at him, and I said, I feel fucking powerful. Run fast!